Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Will Digital Skills Pay the Bills, with our guest, Jasmine Danzeisen. And I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining. Before we dive in, I have a question to you. And the question is, if digital skills really mattered for your next promotion, would you feel ready? And you can answer the question in your head right now. But this is the question at the heart of today's session. And in the next hour, we are going to unpack what 1 million job ads reveal about the future of work and why women especially should pay attention. And the basis for our conversation will be the latest advanced white paper on digital skills and gender gaps, and what it means for your career, for your confidence, and your future in AI-driven workplace. And if you are here for the first time, this is AI for the Real World, a webinar series where everyday people show how they use AI in practical, imperfect, real-life ways. And my name is Anna Stando, and I am your host, and I am learning alongside you. So I am not a tech person, and I promise to ask all the stupid questions so that you don't have to. And this is our fourth webinar. And I'm very happy to share with you that we have just launched a brand new YouTube channel, and you can now see the recordings from the previous sessions over there. There's one more coming up very soon. And this is where you will see how our guests use AI. We talked about managing their mailboxes, making better presentations with AI, and having better meetings. And we've just launched, and we already have 13 subscribers. Let's celebrate with me. And I know that some of those subscribers are you. So if you are already following, thank you so much. And if you are not, I would love for you to go there and click subscribe. And maybe at the end of the webinar, we will be, what do you think, 20, 30 subscribers? How much can we get? That would be really, really great. I am putting some links in the chat, so you can see all the resources that we're going to discuss, and you can see where you can find us. But back to today's conversation. I am thrilled to welcome our guest, Jasmine Danzeisen, who is the co-author of the report we are going to be discussing today. And she's also the thought leadership manager at Advance. So hi, Jasmine.
Hello, Anya. Thank you for the invitation, and pleasure to be here with you today.
It's really lovely to have you with us. And for those of you who don't know Jasmine yet, Jasmine leads thought leadership agenda at Advance, developing the evidence-based research and insights that helps with organizations advance gender equality in business. She brings over 15 years of cross-sector experience spanning advisory, in-house, and audit roles, and a track record of turning complex findings into strategies that create real change. And beyond Advance, she advises organizations on inclusive transformations, always with people at the core, and she also serves on various boards. And Jasmine and I have been crossing paths professionally for years, but this is actually the very first time that we have the opportunity to do something together, and I very much look forward to our conversation. So Jasmine, before we get into the report insights, I like to ask my guests the same question because I know that this is how a lot of people are feeling at the moment. So my question to you is, what would you like to say to someone who feels overwhelmed by AI?
I think my first thing would be, I totally understand that feeling. I mean, I see it, of course, with myself, but also in the many companies I work with. The culture, in companies to say, I don't know where to start without feeling judged, doesn't really exist. I mean, in some companies, of course, it does, but in many, it doesn't. So it's really about that psychological safety that matters here. And for me, AI, I see it a bit like it's a muscle, right? You don't see the results immediately in terms of the kind of productivity gains you get out of it. And the first weeks, it might even feel like it's way more work than less, because you also need to train, right, that muscle. But the more you use it, the more you will also feel comfortable with it, and then the results will also show. So it's really about making AI a habit, and that consistency then will also pay off.
Yes, I like that metaphor. And when I think about training, I always feel about my muscles hurting afterwards, and I think the same true for AI. At the end, at the beginning, it might be a little bit uncomfortable, and it will get better. So thank you. So Jasmine, we've said that you are going to talk us through the insights from the new advanced white paper today. So tell us a little bit about the report and why it's interesting.
Yeah, thank you. So the report came out, we published on the 9th of June, so a couple of weeks back, and it basically came out of a collaboration that Advance had together with the Swiss Job Market Monitor of the University of Zurich, and also with the support of the Canton of Zurich. And you mentioned it before briefly, Anya, around the Advance. So it's the largest business association on gender equality. And part of the role of Advance is to produce thought leadership that basically shape the broader conversation around gender equality in business in Switzerland. And this year, in Advance, we decided that the strategic theme that we have given ourselves is digital proficiency and AI. And the white paper, so that we were talking about today, is the first in a series of publications, but there are also lots of events around the topic that we're building basically, around the topic. And we started off the research basically with quite a simple question. And the question was, how has the demand for digital skills evolved over the past years, if it has evolved at all? And what does that mean for management? Because in Advance, the goal is to have more women in management, as many of the people who are in this chat today also know. And to answer the question, the University of Zurich, they analyzed over 1 million job ads that were published in the last decade, so quite a substantial data set. And they did that using large language models to extract and compare what employers were actually asking for in their job ads.
Okay, so you said that the central question was, how has the demand for digital skills evolved, if at all, over the last 10 years? But digital skills is quite a broad term. So can you explain what actually counts as digital skills first?
Yeah, that's a very important question, because when we talk about digital skills, people often think that means coding or data science, so all kinds of the techie skills, and women tend to then think, oh no, that I don't have any skills in that area, but that's not the case. So in the white paper, we distinguish 3 levels of digital skills: basic, medium, and advanced. And at the basic level, we're talking about these kind of everyday tools that you all know from the Microsoft Office suite. So it's the kind of software that you use without thinking too much, right? Outlook or Excel or PowerPoint. So it's these skills. And when we look at these skills, the basic skills, we see that the gap between men and women has actually closed or is closing. So it's really, that's kind of on the promising side. And then when we talk about the medium level skills, that's when we talk about a bit more specialized business software like resource planning tools, ERP, CRM. So platforms that help you run operations and workflows. And here the gap starts to widen. And when we look at more advanced levels of digital skills, we talk about really analytical, demanding tools. So the ones that you use for complex data work, like forecasting, technical problem solving. And that's where the gap tends to be the widest.
Okay, so let's take a quick pulse check. And I am launching a poll for you to kind of self-evaluate yourself right now. And you can see it's on the spectrum, right? So kind of from, I've got the basics covered, to basics and some medium skills as well, to feeling pretty confident that you've got the basics and mediums already covered and you're already moving into the advanced skills, or you already are or you already have advanced digital skills. And if that's so, come talk to me afterwards. Maybe we can do a webinar together and you can share with us what you already know. Actually, that's how I got one of our future speakers. We were talking about digital skills as well, AI skills, and how far we are on the AI journey. And there was somebody who was saying, no, I actually feel like I know something, I know already a little bit more. And she is actually going to be our next guest. So I'm really serious about it.
Cool.
Very good. I'm seeing some answers coming in. And very good. So here it is. Here you can see the results as well. So we have few people saying they've got the basics covered already, and the majority of you being somewhere in between the basics and maybe having some specialized skills, medium skills in some other areas, probably a special software, something that you're using at your company that you are used to working with. And then we have a few of you as well on the kind of the higher end. Nobody claimed to have already very advanced digital skills. And not yet. Let's do a pulse check like this in a year or so again. So thank you so much for taking that moment and to share that with you. So going back to the study, Jasmine, what's the key takeaway?
So let's start with the good news, right? So the good news is the good news is that the gender gap in the demand for these digital skills, if we look at across the Swiss labor market, is generally decreasing. So we see that it's going in the right direction. But now comes the but, of course. And the but is there is a nuance when we look specifically at the managerial roles, right? Those roles that we're interested in having more gender equality. And over the past decade, the demand of these digital skills in these managerial positions has increased by 55%. So that means that in management today, you're required to have this type of digital skills. And it means also that if you want to enter these roles, you need to have these skills. And as mentioned before, it's not about that coding, right? It's not about being a techie. We're talking about, not only, right? We're talking about the analytical skills. So using the data to make basically complex decision-making possible. And that's what employers are now asking for, increasing at the managerial levels.
Yes, okay, well, so I want to make sure that everybody really got that, because I think it's so important that you are saying that the key takeaway is that if we want to lead teams, if we want to get promoted, if we want to go higher, then now we also definitely need digital skills. And I think the number of 55%, that's quite impressive, right? That's a huge change. So thank you for sharing that. At the same time, I wonder, what does that actually mean for the so-called, soft skills? Are they not important anymore?
Yeah, that's kind of the automatic counterpart that comes with it. So digital skills are not replacing human judgment. Just to be clear about that. So the ability, especially in the managerial functions, right? The ability to read a room, to build trust, to make decisions in sometimes also ambiguous or complex situations, that won't go away. And probably, if anything, it would even become more valuable when AI starts to take over more of these kind of routine routine tasks, right? That the AI is so good at. So the issue is, however, if you don't get to that table where those judgment calls are made without these digital skills to get you there. So you have to see it more a bit like an entry ticket, right? You don't get into managerial positions and stay in those managerial positions if you don't have these digital skills. So the answer to your questions, it's not an either or. So it's not, do I develop my analytical skills and digital skills, or do I invest in kind of leadership or human skills? No, it's an and. So you need both, and especially so in the transition towards a more digitalized and AI world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so bringing it back to what you were saying about basic, medium, and advanced digital skills and the gender gaps, what does that mean actually for women now?
Yeah, the challenge is that women, and so all of what we said, right, it counts for men, women, all equally. The specific challenge for women is that women, we start from a different place. So digital skills, they're more often kind of developed, nurtured, or required in jobs where men tend to be overrepresented. So we have a bit of a different starting point. And we're not talking about capability, right? So it's really about opportunity and pipeline.
Okay, and now we are throwing also AI into the mix. What does it mean then for
Yeah.
in particular?
Yeah, when you add AI to the mix, then it becomes a bit more dangerous space, let's say. And so the World Economic Forum, they published a report with LinkedIn last year, and they coined this term of triple jeopardy, which I find kind of spot on to explain why women specifically need to pay attention here. And what that triple jeopardy basically means is that women are more likely, or women are more represented in roles that are likely to be disrupted by AI. Second, and we will talk about it. So women are less likely to be on key AI projects, so selected into these kind of strategic projects. And women are also less likely to be in roles that AI will enhance. So if you bring these elements in with what I mentioned before around the evolution of digital skills and management and so on, you have AI basically brings a compounding effect to the entire story. And if I may bring another kind of study around AI and women specifically, there was a couple of months ago an article in the Harvard Business Review, and research basically revealed that women who use AI are perceived to be less competent than men, even, or workers in general, let's say, less competent, even when their output at the end is identical to non-AI work. So if you use AI, you may be in your work environment perceived to be less competent than a person who does not use AI. That's kind of the way our brains are wired. And what's particularly disturbing from a women and gender equality point of view is that women are penalized more heavily than men for the same AI usage. So it's a kind of a compounding effect, an even further compounding effect for women.
It's again this double standard that we apply to women and men, right? Women are penalized more for using AI. So it's almost like, if you don't use it, then you're stereotyped as a woman who has, just basic digital skills. If you use it, then you may also be penalized for that. So it's a tricky space to be at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to come back 1 second to what you were saying about the fact that some roles will be disrupted and some roles will be enhanced. And I think we hear those words often, but what does that actually mean? That a role is going to be disrupted or a role is going to be enhanced by AI? What do I need to understand under that?
Yeah. So a role that is disrupted by AI is one where AI can basically do most of what you do, probably faster and cheaper, perhaps better. So if you think of data entry or kind of basic report generation or kind of routine tasks with AI, those skills will get automated and the role associated with it shrinks or disappears. And in comparison, and the opposite is a role that is enhanced by AI. So AI takes over more of that repetitive work aspect of what you do. And then what's left, the more strategic aspect basically gets enhanced. So for instance, if you think of an analyst who in the past spent 3 days just compiling data, will now spend those 3 days advising clients. So that's the kind of enhanced aspect of it. Challenge
Based
that
on the
we
data.
exactly. And the challenge we name in the white paper is that women are statistically more likely to be in that first category, so the role that will be replaced by AI, and less likely to be in second roles where AI will elevate the role.
Wow. All of that doesn't sound really good for women in particular. But just to bring a bright side of the story as well, I've just been reading an article where it was pointed out that we also do have an advantage, right? We have always been described, women, and I think we are mostly or only women on the call. Women have always been described as the one who are better in communication, who give more details, who have more empathy. And when it comes to AI, there's also research emerging that shows that women are more likely to lead with ethics in mind, right? We are concerned about a fair environment and fair chances for everyone, and we bring that into our work with AI. And these things, communication, empathy, ethics, these are just those things that AI can't master. So we are hopefully not doomed. On one hand, it is definitely true that if we have any gaps in digital skills, we have to close them, can close them, right? It's just another skill to learn. It's not a rocket science. And on the other hand, we should also lean into our strengths because they are going to play an even bigger role in the future.
Beautifully said.
Yes, I'm staying an optimist.
Absolutely, me too.
So, Jasmine, let's assume that I'm going to lean into my strengths and I'm going to develop digital skills. What does it mean for my salary in the future? And let's answer the central question of today's webinar. Will digital skills pay the bills?
The short answer is yes. At least that's also what data shows. And PwC just recently published their 2026 Global AI Jobs Barometer. You might have seen that on LinkedIn. It was quite widely distributed. And what they did is they analyzed over 1 billion job ads across almost, I think, 30 countries or so. And according to that report, workers with AI skills have a 62% wage premium over colleagues in the same role with those skills. So, and that number was 25% just 2 years ago. So a substantial increase. So,
Wow. 2 years
yeah,
ago, just 25% more,
yeah.
and then now 62% more.
Yeah, and if I may add in an element, if you think back to what I said before about that those roles who get enhanced by AI, imagine you're that analyst who spent these 3 days in, data computing and now has this free time. So if you're earning more, if you have these skills, you might as well save those, spend 2 out of these 3 days in nature, with family, with friends, and perhaps even for the same or higher pay. So yeah, I think the future is bright for all of us.
Yes, I was actually just reading an article in the New York Times, which was about the tech employees feeling really bad for themselves because they are earning six figures, but it's nothing compared to what they are earning to compared to their colleagues who are kind of AI experts. I think this is probably what drives this jump, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
mad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's your final message to anyone listening today? What should we take away from today's conversation?
Yeah, okay. So here's really, so here we need to end on an optimistic note. Yeah, no, the data, I mean, is clear. Digital and AI skills, they're no longer optional, right? They're the entry ticket to management in the future. They shape who earns more, who gets promoted, whose role will really grow instead of shrink. And that's true for men and women alike. Right now, women are less likely to be in the roles that really build those skills, that give you this entry ticket. And that's kind of the gap that we need to close. And also, we need to be clear, it's not a question of competency, it's really a question of opportunity. And if I may add also really that personal note here, for me, the good news is also that we are here in a different moment than we had any time before, because you don't need to be a techie, right? The barriers to entry, they have never been lower. We can all be coders now. It's not that we now all need to go into coding and it needs to become our passion, but the entry barrier is much lower than it was in the past. So it's not, I mean, if you missed the kind of education in IT, that you're kind of out of the picture. Not at all. So we're all starting a bit from the same or similar spots, and it's basically in our hands to really start. And I also always like to use a bit that analogy of, the train, right? It's like a train that is about to leave the station, and now you can still get that ticket, right? So you pick a tool, something that is simple, you just start, right? Building that muscle that we talked about in the beginning.
Building your muscles, yes. Okay, so I hear you. It's time to get on that train. And I'm going to go back to what I said before. It's time to also lean into your strengths on communication, empathy, and leading with ethics. And that can be a very powerful combo. So Jasmine, thank you so much for sharing all those insights. I would like to see if there are any questions from the audience before we move on. You can type them in the chat. Oh, let me see here. I see something.
We have a question around the penalized for AI usage compared to men. Yeah, it's really a question of bias with that exists, unfortunately. So it's important to be aware of it. And that's, for me, this is kind of the reason why any company going through this AI transition, like all the companies are actually now, you really need to be intentional about it. It's not just a technical transition, it's a human, it's a culture transition. So all, everything we know about culture change absolutely applies to kind of that AI journey companies are on right now.
Yes, and when we are in the situation, what can we answer or how can we react, right? If we feel that we are being penalized for using AI. And I think, from my perspective, I think it all comes to our strength communication, also the communication about how we use AI. So rather than being, let's say, caught that we have written a report with the help of AI, is saying, this is what I found out, this is my research, this is my report, and I have strategically used AI to check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've used it perhaps for a light editing as well for to make sure that it's easy for people to follow. I don't know if you agree, Jasmine, or you have any other ideas, or if someone else in the room has any good advice on that topic.
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, I see. In the meantime, there is another question. We are talking about digital skills in general. Is there any data around which kind of skill exactly we refer to and different industries, or does everyone needs it equally? Yes.
Yeah.
So I saw you were coming in a little bit later. So yeah, Jasmine was explaining at the beginning the difference in digital skills. Do you want to quickly say?
Yeah, I mean, there are different kind of levels of digital skills, basic, medium, advanced. And also, if you go to our white paper, I think Anya, you will share the link. We have kind of an overview of different roles and what is typically demanded in these managerial positions for different roles. So there is a bit more granular information there. Have a look.
Yes. No worries, Vanessa. I think it's a good question.
Yeah, absolutely. There are no stupid questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Carla is asking, do you have any tip as to how to change any inner hurdle against embracing this change we all face in tech? And I think similar, how can we get trained? Do you have any specific trainings to recommend in key digital skills? Yeah, so this is exactly what we want to talk about now together with you all, actually. So I would love for us to have a short conversation about how can we build those digital skills? How can we embrace this change, right, on top of everything else that is happening in our lives? And I know we are all busy and we've got jobs, we often have kids or other caring responsibilities, we have a heavy mental load, and now we also have this change and as Jasmine was saying at the beginning, it's like a muscle, right? It really hurts at the beginning when you are building it. It's not so straightforward. So it can be sometimes a little bit frustrating. So in a minute, I would love to hear from you, people here in the room, how you are growing your digital skills, what is helping you to embrace this change. And I'm going to start with Jasmine, actually. Um, and and I want to start with a question that I know is also on top of everybody's mind, which is about the fact that people sometimes have the willingness to grow their skills, but they feel that they work for companies that are very far behind on AI, or companies that are not giving them access to AI tools, or are very scared of it, or they're currently in roles that don't demand digital skills. What would you like to say to people who are in those positions, Jasmine?
Yeah, absolutely. It's also something that I see regularly, that there's a kind of restricted pool of people who get access to certain tools to test it also before it's rolled out or so. I would frankly say, don't wait, right, for your company to give you access. Really take ownership. You're building up a muscle for yourself, not for the company. This is your own skill that you're building up. Also for any other role that you will have in the future. So take really ownership for yourself to build up that muscle. Get yourself ideally a pro subscription, I would advise. Claude, ChatGPT, whatever it is, whatever tool, right, you feel like you connect with the most. It's $20 a month. And then just go and play with it and get familiar, feel comfortable. Then you're also outside of, judgments or so that you might otherwise experience in the work environment.
Yes, I think it's coming either way, right? So even
Yeah.
if we're not in the position in our jobs where it's already asked of us, it's good to be prepared. And again, building on the definition of what digital skills are, and that they are more than just AI, and they are more than just coding, right? If we have an CRM platform, SAP, HubSpot, or whatever that might be, right? Let's make the most of it. Let's use it. Let's not just use it because we have to, but let's see if we can really become kind of an expert user, right? Because you never know when this can be helpful. So Jasmine, you were talking a lot about building your digital muscle. So how in the spirit of this training, how do you do that? Right? How
uh, Yeah, so what I tend to do, and in any aspect of my life, be it professionally but also personally, I always ask myself, can AI do it? Just this morning, I was again in a call and we were talking about something that will be doing. My reflex is always, can AI do it? And then I try. Maybe it's not working, maybe it's working, maybe it's helpful or not, but at least I played around and I tried and tested it. And maybe to give you an example outside of the professional world, maybe some of the women here can relate to that. So we're just before the summer break, right? And over the last 2 weeks or so, I mean, I was overwhelmed. I have 3 kids with all these 10 zillion different activities these kids have. For every day, there's a different schedule, picnics to pack. There's a sports day instead of the normal regular day. They go to school later than they usually do. There's school celebrations, there are goodbye parties, birthday parties, you name it,
Yeah.
completely overwhelmed with all of that. So what I did, I tend to use Claude. And I like very much the voice version of it. So I just speak into it. So I did just a brain dump into Claude, right? This is happening. And whenever something new pops up, I kind of bombard Claude. And before I actually explained to Claude the role, or even after you can do that, I explained to Claude what the role is. And I said, Claude, you're my personal assistant, right? And now just help me sort out all of this mess and everything that's happening. And I just need to be able to just manage and keep still my overview, and actually my husband as well. And so what now Claude does is on Sunday, I get a full briefing for the week, or I got, because now it's the last week, full briefing of the week, what's happening, different activities and so on. And then also a daily kind of briefing. I ask for a daily briefing in the morning, so I know what's happening and I make sure that nothing kind of slips through the cracks.
Was it difficult to
What
set up?
No, I mean, and I really did it rather simple in kind of a chat form. The only thing that I did to have this kind of reminders and so on is I gave it access to my I have a shared calendar with my husband where we have all the family logistics in there. I gave it access to it so that my husband and me we both see kind of the weekly and the daily briefings and asked it to insert that directly in there. But
Mm.
even if it's just a briefing that you see on the chat, that's already super helpful. And then you can choose the voice, the type of kind of tone of how you want to be the person, Claude actually, or interacting with you, the chatbot. So there are lots of possibilities to make it, feel comfortable and also creative around it. What do you do, Anya? Do you also have something like similar
Well,
experience?
yeah, so obviously I'm leading those webinars, and it all started because I felt I was falling behind on the conversation, right? I was falling behind on the topic of AI, and I am self-employed. So on one hand, I've got this amazing freedom to do whatever I want, right? I can download, upload, share, do anything I want as long as I pay for it. And I'm not restricted by company policies and so on. But on the other hand, I don't have this external push to work with a certain tool where I would naturally grow my skills, or I'm not sent to mandatory trainings that would help me to grow those skills. And over time, I've realized that I was always postponing learning, right? I always had very good intentions, but at the end of the day, life happens, and it would be the last thing on my to-do thing, on my to-do list. So yeah, and while at the same time, every time I was having conversations with others about how they use AI, I found it super insightful and practical and inspiring, and I was always motivated to, okay, yeah, now I really have to do a little bit more. So this is why I created the AI for the real world webinars. And they fit my schedule. They always fit my schedule magically. And once the webinar is out in the world, I can't get out of it, right? So this is kind of my accountability. I put it out. I know that I have to be there. So my learning is scheduled, and it's on the topic that I find interesting. And just making this whole webinar series has been a great experience as well. For example, I made my website with Wix, and I was so impressed by how easy it was to build it with the AI integrated AI builder. You just basically tell it or type it that put a box with 2 columns, and it does it there. And you say, I don't like the layout, and it gives you another layout. And if you have a question, you say, where do I change this or that? You can just type it, and it really, really gives you good advice. Whereas when I was building my other website, my personal website 4 years ago, it was much harder. And now within 4 hours, it was up and running. And then I just spent time fine tuning just because I enjoyed it. And I've
That's so
also,
cool.
yeah, exactly. So it's really kind of got fun, right? Because you get this vision in your head, and before you were saying you needed to be a coder to make it happen, and now you've got an idea and you can make it a reality so much faster because those tools are able to help you do that. And yeah, and now I've launched this YouTube channel because many of you have been asking for recordings, and also I believe that, okay, if we are putting something out of value, let's have as many people as possible to benefit from it. And there's been also a good learning, and it's not that I necessarily think that in the future, being able to set up a YouTube channel is going to be a deciding factor for my promotion or my career, but all of those things kind of add up for my digital confidence.
Hmm.
And I'm convinced that this is helpful, and even just in the form of like branding, right? If you are the person seen who as a person who is engaging with those tools, right, you're automatically seen as the person who is forward thinking. So I think
Yeah.
there's a lot to win there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's also a bit going back. I'm just also seeing a question here on restrictions and so on. I would probably even really, push for that private, start with the private usage of, and don't wait for the company setup for AI, because often in companies you have quite heavy restrictions, understandably, because of company data that should not go into AI when you're not sure that it's going to stay in your environment and so on. So having proper guardrails is super important. And that's why I also recommend really using pro versions, because you can actually make sure that your data is not used for training purposes. So you have some confidentiality, not a 100% confidentiality. Let's be clear about that. So really also gain confidence yourself into where you feel like you can share and where not. So it's not I would not go full in with giving access to my full accounts, to start with. But just build up also that confidence and see what works and what not, and what are the specifics in terms of guardrails that you need to put in place. That's
Yes.
important too.
Yeah, so on that topic, I've just shared my screen so you can see the next webinar, which is what we are going to look at the next webinar, right? So it's how do you use from AI, how do you move from AI chatbot to AI coworker, right? And that difference of having and the difference of just having an app somewhere and typing in the app and having an answer, and the difference of actually having an AI tool integrated with your folders and how you can build it. We will start very, very simple. And I think some of those questions that are being asked here will be also answered at the next webinar. So I hope you can join us. And I'm gonna go to the audience now, and I'm gonna ask you, what is it that you do right now that helps you to grow your digital skills? And if you have any tips for everyone, right? We've shared ours, right? Jasmine talked about the muscle. I think it's important that you find something that works for you and your personality, and something that is interesting for you, right? So finding a project that you find interesting and then seeing how can you make it a reality with AI tools. What about you? Is there anyone who would like to share? You can unmute yourself right now, or you can put it in the chat. We would really love to hear from you.
Maybe I can start.
Yes, please.
My husband, I'm observing my husband who is using AI, and actually the very simple Google Gemini KI summary. So when you type a question into Google, then of course you'll always have on the left side the Gemini, and he's actually not a techie, he's a mechanic. But he started asking questions about tax because we had refurbished our house. He asked questions about funding, etc. And we got quite some good answers. And as you have the links with AI, it's quite trustful. Of course, you can then, you still have to consider it and not just take everything for granted. But the quality of the replies is actually impressive. And I personally, I work with a lot of texts in French, in German, and in English. And what I asked AI, I asked internally Microsoft Copilot to polish my texts I put on the intranet, to have them more concise, to polish them also for grammar, but for accessibility, etc. Because I work in a tech environment, and I was impressed how structured, how well formulated, how good the quality actually is. And also, when I was setting up a text for a French canton in Switzerland, I was astonished, and I thought, okay, actually, I'm not needed anymore because AI can write the letter much better than I actually can do it. Of course, I had to read it, etc., and I didn't want to make a fool of me approaching my French colleagues. But with the help of AI, I felt confident enough. And what I'm still unsure is a bit, okay, should I always display that AI was used? Because in the media you have that, the image was created with AI or the text was created with AI. Here, I'm still not sure how to interact because I don't want to steal. But nevertheless, I'm also putting in some brain work myself. So I've just started, and I hope I can take it from there.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. when I work with texts with AI, where I was caught off guard a few times is that AI always sounds very convincing, but actually sometimes it's just garbage, right? So you're like, well, those, if you just put the first part with the second part together, it doesn't work anymore. But when you read just the paragraph separately, you feel like, yeah, right? It's so convincing. So I think that's the element of the human judgment is so important still there. And on the topic of disclosure, maybe Jasmine, maybe better, but I just remember this massive case when one of the consultancy company completely lost their client and reputation because they used AI and they didn't disclose it.
Okay, so better disclose. Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's going to help with the bias, right, that there is around using AI. And at the end of the day, we're probably all using AI. And if someone is not, then it's almost a bit of a pity and of a missed opportunity because it can really make you faster. So I would probably also plead towards rather transparency than hiding. Most of the time, you can recognize a text that is written by AIs, right? So there are certain, if you use it regularly, the structure of the sentences and so on. Of course, the more you train also your AI on your own tone of voice, and so it will get better, but you still see it. So I would be in favor of a bit more transparency and just make it a normal thing, right? We work with it. And to the point that you made also, Anna, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't use it you can use it for getting acquainted to new areas you don't know a lot about to get up to speed on certain topics. But in a work environment, you will use it to do the groundwork for you, and then the expert judgment you put it on top, right? And that's where you make sure that the content at the end of the day is also the correct one. So I see it really as a helper. For me, it's a helper to get all the routine, boring, time-consuming stuff, and sometimes as a think partner, right, to think a bit along with me. But at the end of the day, I am accountable for what the output is, and I need to make sure that it's robust, sound, rightly sourced, and so on.
Yeah, what you were saying before, right, about the fact that some roles can be enhanced by AI, right? So here again, the nitty-gritty, the detailed time-consuming thing, translation or summaries could be done by AI, but then it's us who actually have the understanding of the topic and are not blinded by AI just sounding super confident and being very eloquent, but actually what it's saying, right? It lost the thread throughout, right? Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else would like to share something? No, very good. Then, Jasmine, so we've been mentioning Advance, right? We both at Advanced right now, and you said Advance is an organization that works towards gender equality in Swiss business. Can you tell us a little bit more about how can we continue our learning and how can Advance help us here as well?
Yes, for those people who are part of Advanced member companies, there are lots of events that are organized now by and skill building workshops that are organized by Advance around the topic this year. So that's really cool. And we see also there's lots of interest and uptake for it. Of course, we have the white paper that we just published. That's kind of the beginning. It's looking more at the digital proficiency part of it. But we'll be publishing a second white paper in September around the future of work and AI. So that's going to look a bit deeper into what are organizations doing on this inclusive AI journey, always, of course, with that gender lens to it. We will be sharing company best practices around the topic of digital proficiency and AI. And of course, as we see here on the screen, we also have a website that we created. It's a bit of a one-stop shop around our strategic theme of digital proficiency and AI. You see Clio, for those who participated in events before with us, that's our AI avatar, was built by Advance to come with some key messages around AI. And then there are exactly the 7 small steps that you can take. So practical hands-on stuff, the white paper, yeah, you're scrolling through it, additional resources around different events that we are organizing. And then there is also the podcast around that we did around AI.
And there are many more coming, I've heard. There will
absolutely,
be more.
absolutely. So it's a website that gets updated regularly. So it's a living resource. You also see us here with our webinar of today, with then also the link to the recording. You see network information of a partner organization. So lots the playbook just above from Digital Switzerland. Yes, so lots of information here to get yourself on the journey, and then of course you can always get in touch with me or also with you, Anya, and we can also support.
Thank you. Yes. So, and Tanya is kindly saying that she highly recommends the podcast Durchstidecke, not just for AI topics. That's really lovely to hear. Yes. So we are nearing the end of our webinar. So I would just like to highlight again this. Let's see. Oh, look at this. So this is the AI for the real world YouTube channel, and we now have 18 subscribers. So thank you for the few of you who already subscribed as well. I would love to get to 20 today. So even if you are not on YouTube every subscriber counts, because you know how it is. The more subscribers, the more likes on those videos, the more reach for our guests, the easier it is as well for me to get interesting guests to the podcast, to the webinar. And we will be also uploading here a few short videos from the previous webinars, 1 minute, 2 minutes, with interesting tidbits of information from our previous guests. And you can also follow us on LinkedIn. And if LinkedIn is more of your world, then by all means, come join us there as well. Remember to have a look at the white paper. It's an interesting read with more details. Check out the AI Proficiency Hub, and of course, join us for the next event after the summer break. And I would love to hear from you how you have experienced today's webinar. So I'm launching another quick poll. Can you see it now? Can you give me a thumbs up? Jasmine, can you see the poll?
Yes.
Perfect. And in the meantime, while you are filling it in, I would really love for you to do that so we can make it as good as possible. I am going to ask Jasmine one more question. And my question to you is, what's one small AI trick you personally love that we didn't get to talk about today, but that you think that everyone should know and try?
Hey, I will answer this question in a second. I was also thinking we should also ask the group if they can answer your initial question that you asked. Whether they feel comfortable about the promotion. I would be also curious to see what the group answers now after, whether they feel more comfortable. I really hope so. Well, maybe a small AI trick that I have started implementing at home was that I use it actually to keep track of my finances now. So in the spirit of financial literacy at the same time. So I upskill via AI. And I always had kind of a rough idea of what my monthly budget is, but not a real tracking. And of course, in the e-banking, you have all this information around percentage of your expenditures for that category and so on. But I always thought they don't really match. I was too lazy to allocate it myself. And then I have different accounts. We have the family account, my personal account, and so on. So, and it doesn't compare to my budget that at some point I put up. And so I wanted to see, is that really matching or not? So, and what I do now is at the first day of the month, so that was yesterday, so we're really always excited when the first day of the month happens. I basically put all my transactions of the month, can be a screenshot just from my mobile phone or an Excel or a PDF, whatever is the easiest. I dump it into I dump the information into my AI tool, and then it has my budget against it that I put up myself, and then I see actually how my expenses match my budget, and I have that view now for the month, but also for the entire year to date, and I have a completely different kind of sense of my financial situations, of how I spend money, and not, also on the different budget lines that were all theoretical in the past for me, but now actually I see concretely and can also act or not, or go more towards saving mode, or offer myself a nicer holidays.
Was there a lot of
Something else.
fine-tuning you need to do?
Yeah, in the beginning, you need to, again, that muscle that you need to train, right? To explain, because in the beginning, it will just look at the transactions and then allocate, then you correct and say, well, no, this is actually this and this and this. You do a bit in the beginning, but then afterwards, it understands, because they usually have the same entry type of references. And then you see actually really what's happening. Then you can start the analytical part around it. So quite
Great.
cool.
Yeah, wow. I love the many ideas you shared to use AI in our personal lives to make our load a little bit lighter. So thank you for sharing those examples. Thank you for discussing with us the white paper. And thank you to all of you for participating today. I hope to see you again. I wish you a great afternoon. Enjoy the sun while it's not too hot. And yeah, have a wonderful summer break as well when you get to it. So thank you so much, everybody. And
Thank
Ninka
you.
is saying 20 subscribers. Woohoo!
Yay!
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.